Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Sirad and this is the first episode of our cycling adventure Road to Iceland. So the idea of a cycling trip in Iceland came from Tom because a few years ago he and his friends did the trip. They did it by car and they slept in different hostels and then they just traveled from the west to the east or from the east to the west. I can't remember what he said now. But yeah, they visited a lot of nice places. So Tom was like, actually we could do that on bicycles as well. It would take, I think the first part of the whole trip is going to be about 650 kilometers and then we're definitely going to go traveling from the west to the east. So we are planning to go in late June, early July. It also depends on what is the COVID situation. It's going to be how, if we have any travel restrictions plus the Brexit from the 1st of January. Traveling in European countries is going to be a little bit different from the UK as well. So that's the plan, and then if anything changes we're gonna have to unfortunately adapt to that. Hopefully everything can go ahead as we planned, and then so that means that end of June, beginning of July we're gonna crack on with the trip. And then so the first part, as I mentioned, is gonna be 650 kilometers. We're planning to do that maybe in 6, 7, maybe 8 days. It all depends on the weather as well. We need to find somebody who helps us with the driving, so we actually need somebody who has a pickup or a 4x4 or something like that to carry the excess stuff like tires, inner tubes, the repair kit, food and warm clothing and stuff like that, because we're not going to be doing backpacking. We're just going to be cycling from one checkpoint to the other one on road bikes, on roads most of the times. I think we're going to have a very little section where it's going to be maybe gravel, but that should be absolutely fine. So our goal is just to go from one checkpoint to the other one in the shortest time possible, and then obviously just hang around, because each checkpoint is going to have something like a natural beauty there to check out, and we're going to do some video shooting and so on. Once we completed the first part of the trip, which is going to be the 650 kilometer ride from Keflavik to Jokulsarlon, then we're going to drive back to Reykjavik, and then maybe after a day or 2 days rest we're going to go from Reykjavik to Gulfoss, which is going to be about 130 kilometer trip. There is a very famous geyser, I think it's called Little Geyser, which we're going to check out, and then hopefully take a couple of nice videos, and then that will be technically the end of the trip. From there we're going to go back to Reykjavik and then back to the UK. So this is the big trip what we're planning to do in 2021 summer in Iceland, and in order to feel confident about the execution of this plan, we're going to carry on training. We will be doing trips from London to different cities of England. Sometimes we're just going to put the bicycles on the car and then just drive to places like the Cotswolds, Surrey Hills, Wales, Peak District, so on and so on, and then we're just going to do circuits there. Our goal is to develop endurance to a level where we feel confident of riding back-to-back days for multiple days, 100 kilometers or over. So far we did only one-day trips, and because we are both full-time working, this is going to be the trend up until the summer, except around March, April, when we're going to do a trip from London to the Lake District. It's going to be about 450 kilometers, and this is going to be about, we're planning to do it in 4 days, so this is going to be our first multi-day cycling. It's almost like a test, just to see how we're gonna how the legs are gonna deal with you know, cycling 4 days back to back over 100 kilometers a day. And then other than that, yeah, we just carry on with doing the day trips and then doing cycling around the area where we live. North London is a really good place from the cycling point of view because especially the place where we live is quite hilly, so you can do very decent training. We both working in a gym, so Tom has access to indoor bikes as well if he wish to do so. I have access to a spin bike as well, so if the weather is that crappy or whatever, then we can just hop on the indoor bikes. Other than that, we do our own trainings. He does more CrossFit, I do CrossFit, strength and conditioning. I'm a little bit more random with my training, but we will try to document as much as we can to showcase that how much work and what sort of work we put in to prepare for a long trip like an 800-kilometer trip in Iceland. In this first episode of the series, we went to Richmond Park to do a little bit of a speed training. So we created in Komoot a figure 8 like route which was 27 kilometers long, and then so we decided that we're gonna do that 2 times with a little bit of a break in between, and both times we wanted to go real fast, so we tried to push the tempo quite hard. And then we had another 11-kilometer loop what we wanted to do at speed, but then we decided that we're just gonna, you know, use it as a cool down, do a big lap and have a coffee, have some snack, and then just take a couple of videos. So I'm gonna talk a little bit more about how the individual laps went. It was really good fun. We didn't really do anything like this. We tried to work at a good 90% effort, or maybe 95, which normally we don't do on the longer trips. So when we cycle for 100 kilometers, we usually tend to stay in the 70-80% zone. Goes up maybe 90% when we do like a steeper hill climb over 10% gradient, but most of the times we're gonna stay around 7-8 on that effort of 10.
Have you kept your repair sort of the inner chip, or did you change it?
I bought another 2 actually.
Yeah, actually, next long trip, yeah, I need to buy this week 1 or 2 of those.
Yeah, I have now 3 because I fixed the broken one.
Yeah, you can always use.
Yeah. So when we go together, then you don't really have to. I mean,
okay.
That's very fucking unlikely that we're gonna blow 3 tires.
I know.
Or 3 inner tubes.
I might buy at least 1 just for
just
becoming aware of the problem. So far I was like very.
But yeah, man, my fucking fingers were freezing in Surrey. After we arrived to Richmond Park, we just removed the bicycles from the car, and then we did a quick check: brakes, gear shifters, tire pressure, and then we set up the bikes with the bags, and then fired up the GPS, and off we went for the first lap. So the first lap was 26.68 kilometers, and I did it in 58 minutes and 29 seconds. The elevation was 229 meters. I think Tom finished a minute earlier. I took 1 wrong turn during this figure 8, so I ended up doing a slightly different route, but the length was exactly the same. Yeah, he beat me 1 minute on the first lap. The important information I look at when I check my Strava is, however, the watt and the average speed. So Strava calculates my wattage because I don't have a power meter in the bicycle, built into the bicycle. I rely on what Strava tells me based on my height, my weight, so on and so on. And it came out that I did 119 watts average, which I was a little bit disappointed with. I was hoping for a little bit more. This is something I definitely need to improve. And then I look at the average speed, which was 27.4 kilometer. I was quite happy with that. And then the max speed was 56.2 kilometers, which was real good fun. It was one of the longer descents where I could go up to the highest gear, and I really pushed. And I think we had a bit of a tailwind there as well. I mean, because we did a circuit, sort of, the wind was constantly changing, so we had crosswind, tailwind, headwind. So some places were a little bit harder than others, and then some of the descents were a little bit faster than other descents. But it was really good fun. And then if you look at this graph here, you can see that there are not really high peaks in Richmond Park. So technically it's relatively flat. You have to do little climbs here and there, and your legs feel it if you push it real hard, but it's nothing crazy. Like a week before or 2 weeks before, we went to Surrey Hills and we did like 1300 meters elevation. That was a different game there. You really feel every single climb there, and it's constantly up down, where Richmond Park is, as I mentioned, relatively flat. And also what I like about Strava is that I can check what achievements I achieved during the ride. It also tells power, speed, time. And if you want to be really analytical, then you can go in and then pick it apart and check every single segment. I tend not to do that. I have just a quick look at what are the achievements, and that's it. For me, the power is important and the average speed. All right, time for the second run. Let's do this. The goal is to beat the time what we did in the first round, which was just under 1 hour. Legs are warm, so let's see what we can do. Wow, that's the second circuit done. 2 times 27k. Wow, the second one was difficult. That was really hard. A couple of climbs really did a number on my legs. And there was one point where like 6 people passed me. That is pissing me off. Yo, Tommy's here as well. Nice one. Alright, we got one more full loop to do. That's 11k. I think we're gonna take that more to like a touristy level, and then just just roll around nice and easy, and then take a couple of videos, pictures, because Richmond Park is beautiful and the weather is awesome. Now the second lap was a lot harder. It felt a lot harder, but funny enough, even though that I was running slower, it took me 2 minutes more to do the same distance. My power increased, my average power increased to 125, and the average speed was 26 kilometers. So it was interesting to see that the average speed dropped, but the power went up. The circuit was exactly the same. I think Tom finished 4 minutes slower than his original one, the first lap. He said that he went into a bit of a red line when we had to take over a couple of cyclists, and there was a car as well. So we really pushed that one. And he said that he probably went a little bit red line, and he was struggling after that. And it was maybe within the first 10 kilometers. So yeah, I can totally imagine that it was quite difficult after that comeback from there. Yeah, so it was a good experience to do 2 laps back to back, pushing it real hard, and then trying to beat the time. Unfortunately, we couldn't beat the time on the second one. I thought that if we were going to be a little bit warmer, then it's going to be easier, but obviously the fatigue was there, so it made it impossible. But yeah, definitely going to have to improve on the power output, and that's probably the goal for the next few months until we make it to Iceland. curious if anybody's gonna call the police on me that I'm cycling in Richmond Park with a gun in my hand. You in the spotlight, bro? I hope you enjoyed the first episode of our cycling adventure, Road to Iceland. We will be returning very shortly with the second episode, which is gonna be a cycling trip from London to Ipswich. If you'd like to follow our journey, please feel free to subscribe and hit the bell button to get notified as soon as we upload a new episode. All of our social media link will be included in the description. You can follow us on Komoot, Strava, Instagram and Facebook. Thanks very much and see you in the next episode.